All right, thanks everybody for joining me here today. My name is Alex Fredrickson. I'm an account executive here at Encore Business Solutions, and I've been asked to talk about demystifying Dynamics 365 because I work with a lot of our CRM customers, the traditional Dynamics CRM customers, and now Microsoft is calling all that Dynamics 365. So that's really what we're demystifying here. So just want to make sure we clear up the language around that. And by the time we leave, everybody should know what Dynamics 365 is and why they should be interested in it. So I'm just going to jump right in here. All right, so our agenda for today, first, just kind of want to highlight what is CRM? What are CRM systems? What was Dynamics CRM? And then try to figure out what Dynamics 365 is. And that's really my main goal. If everybody leaves with a somewhat solid definition of that, I'll be happy. And so we're going to be looking at all the functionality that's available within Dynamics 365. And then after that, wanting to walk through a scenario. So, you know, it's really important to look over all the functionality, but I think it's equally as important to see the product in action so you can get a sense of if it would make sense for your organization and how you could apply it for your own business processes. So today we'll be looking at an HVAC Services example. So looking into dispatching employees, how you track the time, how you bill it, how you figure out that your customer even has a problem. So really going A to Z through a scenario there. But this does apply to, you know, many industries. So whether you're doing, you know, disaster response, elevator repair, any sort of, you know, any sort of job that puts you out in the field, or like Encore Professional Services, taking advantage of this functionality, and we'll make sure that we cover a lot of those key areas today as well. So what is the CRM? So I think a lot of folks will be familiar with CRMs in general, but basically it's called customer relationship management, and traditionally it's been focused all around sales. So, you know, you've got Dynamics CRM, you've got Salesforce, you've got Sugar, you've got all these different CRMs, and it's really tunnel vision on sales. Sometimes there's a marketing component, sometimes there's a customer service component, but really the focus in the traditional user of that system is going to be in sales. And so that's kind of the key of defining what that CRM is. And with Dynamics CRM, for those of you who are users of that product, for a long time, this is what it was. It was sales, marketing, and customer service. But a lot of that has changed. So I talked to a lot of different CRM users. Some work with Encore, some don't. And they're unaware of, you know, with this change to Dynamics 365, what that means for them. They still think that that sales, customer service, and marketing is all that they can get out of their CRM system, but that's just not the truth anymore. So trying to explain and clarify this language around Dynamics 365. So what is it? Is it a CRM? Is it not a CRM? What does Dynamics 365 mean to me? What does it mean to you and your organizations? So Dynamics 365 is really just expanding on the breadth of what a traditional CRM used to be. So it definitely still is a CRM, but it's starting to blur the lines between all of your operations and your finance management as well, and aligning those things all in one place. So really, you think about customer relationship management. If all you're focusing on is your sales interactions, well, then your customers probably aren't very happy, right? Because you aren't worried about fulfillment, you aren't worried about the operational piece, you aren't worried about efficiency in billing and preventing mistakes around that. So why have we always called this CRM when it's really only one piece of the puzzle? And so that's kind of this shift to Dynamics 365, is pulling everything together in one place so you can have a very focused approach to how you interact with your customers, and really streamline that process to make it really easy on them and make it easier on your employees and your staff to manage those relationships and to keep those customers happy. And so that's really the key of Dynamics 365. And for those of you that were familiar with the old Dynamics CRM, all that's in here. All of that is included in Dynamics 365. It's fully available, but there's so much more there. And so that's why we're throwing me up in front of you today to make sure that everybody knows all the functionality that's available and why they should care about it, why they should use it. And so this approach of aligning these traditional CRM functions with ERP or more traditional ERP functions really has a ton of benefits. So as I just said, streamlining the process itself, but also simplifying reporting. You don't have to necessarily warehouse all your data to report on all of your operations and all of your sales. You can report on all the systems in one place in Dynamics 365. It also gives a lot of transparency to your organization. So if I'm a sales user, I could have certain permissions to go and check out, okay, are my customers paying their bills? Has the purchasing team actually purchased that item that I sold? You can get visibility across teams. So there's no more shooting emails back and forth between finance and sales and operations trying to keep the wheel turning. You have really all the capabilities you need at your own fingertips, even as an end user. And so the whole concept behind it is providing all the operational functionality you need in one place. So trying to move away from the idea that you need a best-of-breed solution for each and everything that you do, and really just trying to provide you with a platform that can check all your major boxes. And as we'll see later, for that last mile, as they call it, or for those horizontal or very focused operations that you have some options there to make sure that you can tackle those processes on this Dynamics platform as well. And so what Microsoft is really trying to do here is make this idea of digital transformation a possibility for SMB organizations. So it's a lot easier when you can jump onto a single platform and take all of your processes digital and into the cloud and centralize those than it used to be, because it used to require integration. You used to need an army of IT people to manage the systems. And now it's really simplified, and I think we'll really be able to show that later on when we jump into a demo. So what is this idea? I just said digital transformation. What does that mean? It's really the idea of just getting away from not even necessarily paper process, but just kind of the forced interactions between different departments and teams and kind of the separation. It feels a lot like right now companies are relying on Excel sheets and emails and meetings and things to tie everything together. But what if you could save all that time in those meetings, the time creating those Excel sheets and digging through the interdepartmental sheets, and bring it together in one system? It just makes sense, right? It's more efficient. Everybody has the information at their fingertips. Any manager can report on all the data that they need without having to make that ask. They just have the tools that they need. And so this idea is really around three prongs here. So it's focused around your customers, in transforming their process and how you work with your customers, your people. So people is important. Every time we go into an implementation of Dynamics 365, CRM, or ERP, it's all about people, right? If the people can't use the system, if it doesn't help either the customer or your internal staff, then it's not going to be successful. And so this is a huge piece of the puzzle here. And so we'll see how you can start to use this system for not only the services side of people and the pleasing your customers and keeping them happy, but also the hiring piece. So attracting talent, managing their skills, understanding who's on the team and how you can leverage their skills to not only enable them to be successful, but also to be as valuable as they can be to the organization. And then you have this cog that's kind of the traditional ERP. So it's your products, it's your operations, your manufacturing, all your finance. And really, this whole idea of digital transformation is to tie these things together, and you have this service point in the middle, and that's really where all these things interact. And that's where Dynamics 365 enables you to have visibility from all sides of serving your customer, regardless of if you are a traditional CRM user or ERP, etc. So what happens when, we'll go through all the products and modules, but what happens if it doesn't fit, right? What if the project service module doesn't fit your needs exactly? As I said, Microsoft is trying to go away from trying to create a best-of-breed solution, and they're really trying to build something that gets a large number of organizations 80 or 90% of the way there. So what about all these nodes in between, right? It's not all as clear-cut as just these 6 points that we're looking at here. And so that's where they came up with this thing called PowerUps. And PowerUps enables you as a non-technical user, whether you're in the IT organization, maybe doing this at more of an advanced level, or just a power user, to create your own interfaces to interact with all of these applications and all of this data. So it's all already part of Dynamics 365. All the data is in one place, and now we have a way of really what they say is going that last mile, right? So getting from that 80% or 90% of the functionality you need to 100%. And then you're truly 100% digital. All your operations, all of your data is in one place where you can report on that. You can streamline process between different processes and applications that you're using, and you can do a better job of reporting on all that data without syncing up an entire resource trying to pull reports and create data warehouses out of all these different systems. So what is Dynamics 365? What are the applications that I'm talking about? So they're all on one platform, much like I'm sure many of you did a transition from Office to O365. It's much the same. Rather than having all these separate apps and needing to deploy them on premise, you now have everything you need in one place. It's Dynamics 365. It's all in the cloud. Microsoft manages it all for you, and it really speeds up the deployment, and it also just makes things easier internally in terms of managing user access and ability to use the tools. So here you can see, as I said, we have our traditional CRM apps. We have sales, we have customer service, and we have marketing. But we also have some other things here that are now available on this platform. So we have field service, and we're going to take a deeper dive into field service today. And so that's where you can actually deploy your users, your equipment, your people into the field to help your customers. We have project service automation. And I like to compare this to like a centralized project, Microsoft Project. So I think a lot of us are probably familiar with Microsoft Project. Much like the old Office apps, it's on somebody's desktop. Maybe they're using the online version, so those files are more accessible. But it doesn't really tie together with the actual resources who are working those projects, or the management team who needs to report across all projects, not just a single project. And so this project service automation really centralizes that, so that not only the project manager can plan the project, budget, do all their reporting, and take care of all their responsibilities, but the management team can understand at a high level over all of our projects, how are we performing. A resource manager can understand who do we have on the team, who's already consumed with these project tasks, and who do we have available to work on this deal that we just closed. And then also the resources have visibility into what their responsibilities are, what their forecasts look like moving ahead a couple of months, understanding how busy they're going to be in the next couple of weeks and where they might be able to pick up some extra work or do some sales support. And so it's tying all of these different groups together and centralizing that information, again, in the idea of transparency and being able to make better decisions because you have more information at your fingertips. And then we have finance and operations. So this is your traditional ERP functionality. And so we'll call it finance and operations today, but there's a few different flavors of this. So you have Business Central, which is essentially your cloud version and division. And then you have the enterprise finance and operations, which provides that enterprise level global type of ERP functionality. And this isn't to say Dynamics GP, Dynamics Nav, they're here to stay as well. But for those who do want to move to the cloud, you now have some other options that's going to tie all of your data into one place here. And then the last two applications we have here are talent in retail. And so as I mentioned, that talent piece, understanding who you're trying to recruit, what kind of skills you're looking for, posting different jobs across the internet, across your website, and managing the different views and clicks around those. And then just kind of starting this cycle of understanding that potential employee a little bit earlier. Why do we have to wait until they're hired to understand what their skills are and to track that within our systems, so that when it comes to project, field service, and sales, we already understand who that individual is and how they fit in with our organization. And then retail, tackling that point of sale piece and just managing for a retail organization what that sales cycle looks like, which is often much different than with your traditional CRM sales cycle working B2B. And so just like we saw with the digital transformation concept, what really ties all this together, right? What if I don't fit right into one of these modules? Well, that's where we have additional apps kind of surrounding your Dynamics 365 organization to help you accomplish that. So, of course, Power BI, simplifying reporting, automating the creation of those reports, empowering the end user with the ability to create their own reports and to view their own dashboards and manage their own data. And then you have Flow. So Flow is another one that's fairly new to the Microsoft or the Dynamics family. And it's really all about integration. How do we tie these apps with the outside world? It's great that we have all of this in one place, but what about the other things we use? We have a lot of customers that use Trello. We have a lot of customers that use different marketing platforms. That's where Flow comes into play and can help you interact with those external platforms. I think with something like up to 200 different products, SaaS products across the web that Flow will connect to, there's a ton of options out there, and it's kind of a change in the perception where Microsoft used to say, okay, we've got you using Office and Windows, we don't want you using anything else. They've kind of shifted gears there with Flow is how I see it, and they're saying our platform is going to provide the most value if we actually open that up and we enable people to still use those tools that they love, but wrapping all that information together in one place here in Dynamics. And then you have something called PowerUps, which is, like we saw, those nodes in between these different applications. PowerUps, you're creating custom applications, custom mobile applications and web applications with little to no code. And I'm not the most technical person, and I've done this myself. I've created an app from scratch that's pulling from all of these applications. And really, that's all about tackling a very specific problem. You have a process or a problem that doesn't fit into Dynamics 365, that's no problem because you have PowerUps. You can quickly spin up an application that's going to allow you to complete that process without breaking the idea of having all your information in one place. And that's where the Common Data Service comes into play. And so the Common Data Service is really the back end that's going to be tying all of these things together. And so that's kind of the loop that we have here with Dynamics 365 is being supported by additional apps to make sure that you aren't stuck in the loop. You can still interact with other data and leverage the tools you use today alongside Dynamics 365. So jumping into the functionality available today in Dynamics 365, here is kind of our core modules that we saw, and when we get into demo, we'll see a little bit more. There's some other kind of residual or related applications that we have available to us. But I do want to quickly highlight each of our core applications here. And I don't want to spend too much time on sales and customer service. I think those that have looked into CRM probably have a pretty good grip on that, and try to save some time to really expand on field service, project service, and some of the other tools. So within Dynamics 365 sales, it's all about relationship sales. So understanding who you're working with, understanding where they came from, learning about their organization to actually take action on that data to do a better job of relating to that potential customer and completing that sale. Another big component of this is just efficiency within the sales cycle. So not only just being consistent with how you approach a given sale, but also kind of nudging along your sales team to make sure they know what to do next so that they can keep things moving forward. And when things get stuck, being able to understand why are things getting stuck and how can we improve the process to be more efficient next time. And especially with this acquisition of LinkedIn, plugging in all of that data into your sales cycle and having it at your fingertips here in CRM is incredibly valuable, and really eliminates any need for data entry, right? That's one of the biggest gripes that we get when we talk to a sales organization, is that none of the users want to be sitting there typing things in all day. And that's huge with LinkedIn, being able to just pull all that data into your system. You already probably found them on LinkedIn. We might as well just pull that data in and use that moving forward. So it's all about trying to be more efficient in your sales cycle to really speed things up within that cycle, as well as create more efficiencies to be more productive with your sales team. Spending more time actually building relationships and selling products, services, whatever it might be, than they are typing things in or writing proposals from scratch or anything like that. Moving into customer service, one thing that I'll mention right now about customer service is, for those of you that are already using Dynamics 365, the biggest change here is the portal. So you now have Dynamics 365 portals, and we'll take a look at this later, but it's really enabling you to take some of the burden off of your team, whether it's your manager or if you have an individual that does all of the intake, or even your agents themselves, and just allowing the customer to do that on their own, right? Giving them the ability to self-serve, to go create their own cases, or in some cases even just help themselves with the information you provide. And it's not laziness or anything like that, it's saving time. The more time you can save with any given case means the more cases each CSR can complete. And think about how you interact when you're working with whether it's trying to pay your cell phone bill or working with your cable company. You don't really want to interact with them. You want to do it yourself. And so let's enable them to do that. And that's where the portals will come into play. But it does all tie into the traditional customer service functionality that you have in Dynamics. You can do live chat. You're managing that ticket all the way to resolution and tracking all of those interactions and conversations, using knowledge bases, using machine learning to help you identify where maybe you've solved this problem before, so why try to solve it again? Let's just reference that historic case. And so there's a lot of really powerful tools here, and we'll take a little bit of a look at that here when we get into our demo. So this is something I'm really excited about. So for those of you that have been using Dynamics 365 marketing, it's not actually a outbound marketing suite. It's really just, traditionally it was always just trying to track your campaigns and your different interactions and your marketing list, but it wasn't actually sending out bulk emails. It wasn't managing your events and advertisements. It wasn't giving you a ton of insight and reports outside of maybe some ROI reporting. And that's where there's been a huge change. So Microsoft has finally partnered up with another organization to build out a marketing tool that really does work well. And so it enables you to do all your outbound email marketing. You can create web forms to pull data into your CRM system, so no more needing third parties or having to write custom code to do that. It can manage all of your webinars. It can create your nurture drip campaigns, which I love them because I don't do a ton of marketing anymore, but I used to. And it is just so convenient to be able to sit down and build a campaign in a couple of hours and let it run for months or years, compared to having to manually track those schedules and send them out by hand and hope you don't forget about one. So you're building these what's called lead nurtures, where you can, based on the interaction with that given email or phone call, etc., you can make a decision and decide what that lead is going to get next. So maybe if they open an email and navigate to the website, the next time you interact with them, it's going to be a personalized phone call. But if they ignore the message and don't open it, let's just keep them in the email drip because they're a fairly cold lead. And so it gives you a lot of power to really like set it and forget it, right? Not to be too infomercially, but just putting the work in up front and letting it run and letting it start to generate leads for you. And then with the embedded intelligence, with the machine learning in Azure, being able to do lead scoring and looking at success that you've had based on certain geographics or industries, whatever it might be. And then again, your event management. I think a lot of us are going to trade shows or doing webinars or putting on events for our customers, such as today, and being able to manage those things to understand what's the value behind that? Why are we doing that? Do our customers even like it? What's the feedback that we're getting on that? And tying it all together so that we can create those reports and really have an understanding of what we want to do next time to learn and to move forward. All right, so field service. This is one of the newer applications on Dynamics 365, and it is really pretty cool. So field service is all about creating those short kind of customer interactions where you're going on site and you're solving a problem. So we'll get into project. Project is more, okay, this thing's going to be running for a couple of days, couple of weeks, couple of months, and we need to strategize around what that team is going to look like. Field service is kind of the opposite. It's those short interactions. Think about a cable service provider, or I think, as I said before, emergency response, or if you're working for a utility company. It's those things where something's gone wrong, your customers reached out, and you need to react incredibly quickly, because if you don't, your customer's out of service and they're going to be unhappy. And so within the field service module, we'll see different service types that you can create, how you can get these things scheduled, how you can deploy your teams, and then what that looks like from their perspective. So how are they going to complete their job? They don't have 3 monitors in front of them. They don't have a nice big web interface to work out of. So how are they actually going to track this service? And how are we going to make sure that it gets done properly and done right the first time? So on to our project service. So this is one that Encore uses heavily, and so you can think if you're doing any consumer services, any professional services, or even any ongoing internal projects where you need to manage the cost, the timelines, budgets, resources, the project module is for you. So within this, you can set up all of your work breakdown structures, you can set up all your resources to have a really good understanding of where your project organization sits at any given point in time. So just at a glance, I can understand, okay, are we booked out for weeks? Are we short on work? Do we need to hire? It's tying all the information around your services organization together so you can make smart, intelligent decisions. And so, like I said, it's project delivery. It's taking your work breakdown structure, managing all the resource efforts against that, and tracking those as you're moving through the project, so you don't just end up on the go live date saying, oh well, by the way, we're way over budget, but look, it works, right? You're being able to anticipate those things by deploying something like project service automation. Also, resource optimization, really understanding who is working on what. There's a lot of tools out there that are a little disjointed from where you actually manage your projects, and so you never know if it's accurate, and this resource is blocked out, but is it for sure? Or maybe they could pick up some quick work if we have just a short project. And so that's where you can really get full visibility into who's tentatively booked something, who's booked out for 8 hours a day for the next 2 years, who has no work right now and needs a project, to help you optimize how you're able to tackle your projects, and also just making sure you're starting your projects early enough, right? So even from the sales perspective, having a little bit of visibility into, do we have some people available? When might we be able to start this project goes a long way in helping that sales cycle go smoothly and helping that interaction go well. In really doing all your cost accounting in one place. I mean, you can still do it on the ERP side if you'd like, but you're having users input all of their time, all their expenses. You have all the information you need, including how that project was sold, in one system. And so you can get a true look into the profitability of any given project. You can also get a look at different metrics, whether it's profitability or margin or total cost, total profit amount. You can get all of that as well at a high level, right? So from the management perspective, you can report over all your projects as well, all in the same place. Finance and operations. So this is kind of one flavor of the cloud ERP, and this is really that enterprise-focused system. And so this is where you're doing your, you're kind of the global enterprise. You're working in many countries with many companies. You have a lot of users on the finance team, but also on the operations side. The other flavor to that, kind of the SMB flavor, is what's called Dynamics 365 Business Central. And so we'll see a little bit more about that later on. But you're still doing all your operations, all your finance. You can still have multiple companies in multiple countries, but it's kind of the scaled down version, and we'll see that to manage all your finances, to do all your manufacturing, inventory management, tying into payroll providers and other things like that as well. So a lot of functionality on the ERP side there, tied in with all of this CRM or D365 platform functionality as well. So here you can see kind of how far this goes into managing your financials. So you just kind of have all your processes streamlined. You have access from your inbox and Outlook. You have access from your phone. It's really taking what used to be kind of a traditional, okay, if you aren't at your desk sitting right next to the server, well, then you're out of luck. You can't see this data, to being a more accessible, more mobile platform. And that's both on the finance and operations and the Business Central side. And then you have talent. And so I love this tool because it ties in so closely with field service and project service automation. And so you can't start learning about your prospective employees soon enough, right? I want to know their skills. I want to know how they're going to fit in with the team. I want to have all that information. So day one, when we hire a new employee, we can plug them right into our field service or our project service organization. We know what their skills are. We know what projects they can jump on, and we can really hit the ground running. So really just following that process, as I said, all the way from posting jobs and attracting candidates through the interview process, but then on from there too, right? It doesn't stop when an individual gets hired, but it's really more of the core HR functionality as well, doing annual reviews, doing benefits, compensation, managing all of that on this platform as well. Alrighty, so let's jump into our scenario here. So as I said before, today we're going to be looking at an HVAC Services scenario, and I know I can't please everyone, and it's I'm sure you aren't all in the HVAC industry out there, but just try to think of the possibilities for your organization, right? So whether you're responding to responding to customer service tickets and need to take action on those, or you're performing projects and need to have visibility into that data, just try to think about how your organization would fit with these tools. All right, so our scenario that we're looking at. The customer is having a problem, right? That happens all the time, unfortunately, but good thing is we're here to take care of it. So we're going to be helping a customer who's experiencing an issue. Our customer service rep is going to be the first line of defense. They're going to engage with the customer. They're going to try to fix the problem. In this case, they couldn't fix it, so they're going to make sure somebody comes on site to help them out. Our third individual is our dispatcher. So they're looking at all the work orders and they're deploying all the field technicians. This could be one individual, this could be a team of people based on territories or whatever criteria that you may have. Our fourth individual is our actual technician. So they're going to be on site, they're going to be on their mobile device, and they're going to be providing these services for the customer. And then last, we have our accounts receivable specialists. So they're going to be invoicing for the services and any products that were used on that particular service. So keep in mind, I'll try to call it out when I'm switching personas, but I have included these little photos throughout. So when you see that change, that's kind of our cue that we're shifting gears a bit. So here we are on our Dynamics 365 portal that I mentioned. And so we are Contoso Limited, and this is our self-service portal. So like I said, we don't need to have reps sitting by the phone all the time because our customers don't want to call us anyway. They just want to come in and submit their own ticket. And so here I'm Vaughn McKay. I'm going to want to create a ticket about my issue. If I'm not sure that I need a fix here, I have other tools available, right? I have a knowledge base. I can click into my knowledge base and I can search around for articles. Obviously, I'm not having issues with my printer today, so I'm going to go ahead and just submit a ticket. So here you can see my organization already has an open ticket. So maybe if a colleague already logged the same issue, I know that I don't have to actually create a new case. In this case, I'm having a separate issue. So right now, my office in the back corner of our building is really cold, and then the main room's really hot. It's just kind of funky, and it just seems inefficient, and I want to get it fixed. And so I'm going to go ahead and open a new case. And so here we'll see our blank form. Obviously, when the customer is inputting the data, we want to keep it very simple. We can collect more than this on our customers, but here we want to make sure it's easy for them to submit these so that they actually do it. In our CRM on the back end, again in Dynamics 365, forgive me if I say CRM, but that is my intention, Dynamics 365, they know based on my login and my profile in the portal who I work for and who I am. So they already have that information. We've already connected those dots. And so here I'm just going to describe my issue. So again, I'm having some irregular room temps. I'm going to give it a classification, so I'm having a problem, and I think I need some maintenance. And so I can provide as many details as I want. As I scroll down, I can also attach a file. For now, I'm just going to submit this case. And as you can see, this has been created for me. From the Dynamics end, if we wanted to automatically send them an email or a text or something just confirming that we got it, we could do that as well. And so now that I've submitted my ticket, I've realized, well, I forgot to add those photos, or maybe I should go take them really quick to make sure they understand it's like 62 degrees in my office and it's 78 degrees out in the hallway, and I don't like it. So I'm going to click into my case. And again, you'll see all of this is logged. We have full control now over what they can edit. So here, if they want, they can change the case type and the subject, but they can't go back and completely change all the details of the case. Scrolling down to the bottom, I can add a comment here to get my photos uploaded. So here's some photos of my thermostats, just making sure they're aware that even the thermostat is recognizing that the temperatures aren't where they're supposed to be. Maybe that'll help them diagnose things. I grab my file and I'll hit submit here. And then you can see my beautiful thermostat there. That's Remy. So shifting gears, we've submitted that case. And so now we're shifting gears to our CSR. So we're back in the traditional desktop interface for Dynamics 365, but I'm on a sales dashboard right now, and I don't do sales, so that doesn't make sense for me. So first, I'm going to go to where I really belong. And as a CSR, I'm going to go into what's called my customer service business app. And so that's going to really streamline things for my role. And so now as I click into my navigation here, you'll be able to see, rather than all of the modules that we've been talking about, which are installed in this instance, I'm only having to view what I think is important to my role. And so here I have my service module available here. So I'm going to click into my queue, because my queue is how I manage my work. My queue is where I go to look for new tickets incoming, whether it's through the phone, through the live chat, through the portal, or maybe somebody stops by the office to complain about something. Really, everything's going to flow through these to streamline your support process, and so that you don't lose track of any issues along the way. And so here's the case I want to work on. So I'm going to select that case here, and then I can go and I can pick it. So up here, it's covered a little bit by my face, but I can hit pick. And then that's going to ask me, do we want to remove this from the queue? And yes, I do want to remove it from the queue. I'm taking responsibility for this issue, and I don't need somebody stepping on my toes. So now we've made it into our case record. This has been picked by me, assigned to me, and so now it's no longer in the queue for anybody else to have to deal with. And so looking at some of our information here, we already know just from the submission in the portal a lot of information. We know who it is, we know what the issue is. Here we filled out the product that ties to this, so immediately as a CSR I go, okay, I've seen this problem before. Typically it's a faulty thermostat. So it's just not reading the temperature at the refrigeration unit the same, or the heating unit the same as it is up in the individual rooms. I see it all the time. And so I'm going to select that product as one of the things that's probably going to be going faulty here. If I move over to my activities, I can see that's where I have my comments and I have my attachment from Vaughn who submitted this case. And then next I can go and actually move this along within my business process flow. So same as in those who are familiar with the sales cycle, here we also have a business process flow to help us move through our case process. So here I want to try to identify similar cases. I'm a veteran here on the support desk for Conto, so I know that this is a thermostat issue. So I'm going to go ahead and just add that issue. I'm going to do a thermostat malfunction. That's the incident type. And once I've selected my incident type, I can go ahead and convert this to a work order. So this was created successfully. I don't want to open this right now. I'm actually going to resolve this case because I can't do anything else to help the customer right now. So now I move forward to my resolve stage. I can click Mark as resolved. I didn't actually solve the problem, so for reporting sake, I want to select work order created. I have my resolution. I know that they're going to need a thermostat thing. I'm not going to bill for this because it is a issue under their contract perhaps, or maybe it's a product that's under warranty, and then I can hit resolve. And so now this case is closed, as you can see, and as a customer service rep, I'm no longer responsible for this. It's been handed off already to the field service team, and I'm going to go back to the queue and go and try to help another customer. So now we're going to shift gears and go and talk a little bit from the field service side about how we're going to take that work order, dispatch it, and make sure that we do a good job of completing that repair. So again, we want to get into our field service hub. Once we're there, we don't have to deal with any of our customer service entities anymore. We're just working within field service. So here we have all of our work orders, our schedule board, which we'll take a close look at here in a second. Also, any agreements that you have. So a lot of our field service customers have monthly services or quarterly services, and so those can all be built in. So we'll be looking a little bit about how you can take an incoming kind of ticketed issue and quickly get that on the schedule board. You can also automate the whole scheduling process through your agreements. So you know that your customer ProSwear has a monthly service and they need it done between on the last week of the month between Wednesday and Friday. They don't care what time. You can set those parameters up so that the system can actually schedule that work order for you. And then you have all your warehousing inventory. Most of the time, this is just pulling in the actual details from your ERP system, right? So all your inventory and your warehouse locations would be stored in the Business Central side, but we'd be able to get visibility into them here. We'd be able to initiate inventory transfers to actually, interact with that inventory, which would then go back, obviously, to ERP to report on, okay, here's what we're doing with the transfer. We need to reflect that on the inventory in ERP, which would be the master. So if I click into our schedule board, let's take a closer look at what we have here. So looking at this list, we have quite a few resources here. Some people are already working. We have quite a few open work orders that we need to take care of. But first, I just want to simplify things. I want to make sure that I'm only looking at the resources that I want to see. So I can go into my resource types here and start to create some filters. So I'll select my user. And then I also want only my Canadian and US territories. And then when I search for that, I now have a subset of all of my resources. So maybe I'm only responsible for dispatching North America, or maybe just US and Canada. So you can create all the filters that you want there. You can get more specific, as I said, if you're doing skills tracking, and if some of your technicians can do thermostat repairs while others are more focused around leaking systems, or potentially implementation support or something like that. You can create different roles and different skills so that you can filter your data that way as well. And so now what I can do, if I want to look at a particular work order, I can click on it. So I'll click on my work order here, which based on this color coding looks like Diego is traveling there right now. It looks like you might be a little late, but I'll click on it and take a look. And so now I'm going to have some details about this work order. So I can see when is the start time supposed to be, when's the end time, what's our estimated arrival time. So at this point, we're looking like we're arriving pretty late, and so I can kind of help him by pushing other things back accordingly. And then I have other information around that work order and the type of service that we're performing. So if I go ahead and shrink that, so now I can go ahead and let's schedule a new work order. So this is our work order that just came in the door. I want to get this on the schedule board because we let them know that we get this done today at some point. And it looks like Enrico's going to be able to do it because he has a gap. He's working late tonight, and so we can throw it on his schedule board. So if I start to drag this, we'll see. The time promised lights up as green. So as soon as I hover over Enrico's schedule, if I can complete the duration of that service based on our estimates before he's off work or before he's on another job, it's going to show it to me here as green. And then I can deselect that, and as you can see, it dropped right onto the schedule board. And so now this is going to pop up in Enrico's list of work orders. It'll also give him a notification if we want to set up an email or a push notification as well. And as we can see, as we're sitting here, we're getting live updates. So as the clock ticks, as people are updating their work orders, we now went from traveling to in progress here for Emily. So now we're going to be shifting gears. So we have the work order scheduled, and now we just need to make sure that the service gets completed. And so we're going to take a look at, as a field service technician, how I can complete that job based on the tools that I have with me, based on the products that we provide, and based on how long that service is going to take. So now we're inside of our field service application. And so this is available on Windows 10 if you wanted to do it on a Windows 10 device. It's available on iOS and Android tablets and phones as well. So really any device that you could possibly have, you can launch this app. Here's our mobile phone interface. The tablet interface is similar, but it's more of a landscape look, as you can imagine. And so just working with this tool here, I can click into my dashboard to get to my agenda. So I have, my time off requests if I want to make those. I have some kind of quick and simple reports on my open work orders. But what's most important to me is what's next, right? I'm busy enough trying to get from one job to another. what's next, where do I go next? I can't control at this point if the last job ran long. I just need to jump on the next one. So I can select my work order 1006. And so here we'll get more information about this booking. As you can see, it has my estimated start time, which is a little late, my estimated end time, which at this point probably isn't going to happen. But again, that's out of my control. I just have to keep doing my job, and the system is going to make those updates for me. So as I click here to change my status, I'm now going from traveling to in progress, and you'll see that updates my actual arrival time. So it's still going to be saving my planned start time, but it's going to be updating my actual arrival time, and it still understands, how long this service is going to be. It's also going to be tracking based on my geolocation how far I've traveled. How long was I in the car? How many miles did I travel? And if I want to associate mileage and time as a part of that travel, I can get a cost to that as well. So scrolling down the form a bit, I'm getting more information around this work order, who the service account is, where I need to go, how to get there. As you can see here, this is some instructions that are actually tied to the account form within Dynamics CRM or Dynamics 365. And so anytime that we create a work order tied to that account, I'm going to get this instruction through to my app here. And then you can see we have what we're doing here today is a leak test. We have a little description of what that entails. So even if it's something that maybe you haven't done in a while, you can get a rundown of what's going on there. So if I click into that incident, if I scroll down further, I'll see I have that incident listed as one of many incidents if there's more things that are going on or that you learn when you're on the job. I also have that service task, which is the service itself. It's 2 hours and performing a leak test. And if I want to click into that, I can see the details of that. So this service task is all based on that incident type. So since that incident type was the leak test, my service task is now to complete that leak test. I can have more than one task. I can have, an inspection to start, and then a leak test, and then a follow-up with the property manager, and then sign off. I could have all those things built out as different service tasks to help me walk through all my responsibilities, almost like a checklist. That'll also give us the ability to add information as we go. So for dispatch, they're going to be seeing, here I just completed the leak test, they're going to be seeing this as we go. And so as I complete this, I'm reporting back my actual duration. So if I'm finishing this job early, my dispatcher can add another work order onto the tail end of my day if there's something that needs to get done. Here I can also take pictures proving that I completed the service, or maybe if there's something I didn't recognize that I want a little bit of help diagnosing, I can do that. I can also just write a simple note. So here I can just write a note about what I encountered, and then I can go ahead and save this to move back to the work order. So as I save, it's moving me back a screen. And so here is the bottom of that work order that we were looking at earlier today, and I can go, now that I completed the service, I can get a signature from that customer. So now scrolling back to the top, I've got my sign off from the building manager. I can go to completed here, hit save, and then I'm done, and it's popping me back up to my agenda to complete the next work order. If I did want to start my travel to this next work order, I can click in here and I can change this to travel, or I can scroll down to my map if I want to use my maps to travel, and I can click the map icon, and that's going to plop whatever your default mobile app is. It's going to pop that for you. So it knows your current location, it throws in the work order location, and then you're on your way. And so then that's going to change your status to travel, and as soon as you need to start that work order, once you get there, you're in progress. And so that's kind of how you get the start and end timestamps for each one of those statuses. So taking this back to our dispatcher, you can see now that we're here, we can go into our actuals and actually see what was the result of completing that service. So you can see both the cost of material and time are being created here as actuals on the CRM side of the system, on the Dynamics 365 field service side. And so this is where you're actually going to be integrating with the ERP software that we talked about before. So it's all on Dynamics 365, and so this is simply an out-of-the-box connector to Business Central where you can see the actual services provided and you can create invoices for those services. And so as I move along here to my next role, I'm in accounts receivable, and so I want to go and I want to look at this, what's manifested as a posted sales order. So I can go to my posted sales invoice, and then I can find that invoice. So here, as we saw, the materials for that service were $180 plus tax, and we weren't billing for that for the technician's time. And so even on the field service side, you can still report on the cost, the total cost of this service, but in terms of what we're going to be billing to our customer, it's just going to be what we define as being billable for that particular work order. And now I can click into this particular sales invoice, and here I'm trying to send this document, and so I can go in, define how I want to send that. So here I'm just going to send it as PDF via email. And so 1, I'm getting an attachment. 2, I'm getting email body with an overview of that invoice. And so all I have to do is type in who I want to send this to, or select from an existing contact, and it's out the door. If I want to actually pull down that invoice as a PDF, I can view that as well before I want to send that email. And so now we've seen really the tie all the way from the customer service side, where they started in the portal, to the interaction with the actual CSR themselves, right? So leveraging their skills and understanding how they can help this particular customer, to dispatching, really flowing into our operations area here, dispatching that work order and completing that particular service, all the way back to finance, where we're collecting the billables for that action, and then we're going to be billing for that. So just as a highlight of what we saw before as our scenario, and just expanding on that idea a little bit, our customer had a problem, and so they created their own case via the portal. They were able to go in, the knowledge base didn't help them with this issue, and they went and logged a ticket. The CSR then was able to see that ticket in his queue. He picked the ticket and identified this as requiring an on-site technician. So he converted that case into a work order without manually creating any records or inputting any manual data. From there, it flowed through to the dispatcher based on the parameters and when the service needed to be done and when it was promised. We were able to dispatch that work order for the evening of, and so the technician was able to get there on the tail end of his day and complete the service. That technician, through the mobile app, was able to go in and document their completion of that service, document the amount of time it took and the products that were used to complete that service, and then complete that ticket and move on to the following work order. And then those actuals flowed into accounts receivable. They were able to see that on their finance dashboard or their AR dashboard, and they were able to post that invoice and get that sent out to the customer. And so you're starting that collection cycle immediately, rather than waiting to the end of the week to post and send the invoice. You can do it as soon as that interaction is complete, and then the terms on the payment will start at that point to speed up collections. And so there are plenty of tangible benefits, as we saw, that are crossing industries. So whether you're using field service, project service, sales, or customer service, we're finding ways to streamline your process, to automate steps within that, and to make sure there's no data lost, to make sure that you're able to quickly move from one role to another. And so today, obviously, it's easy when I'm doing it all myself. But when the system's passing the data from one person to another, and you're leveraging those dashboards to really act as cues of how each role needs to interact with the business data, you're getting rid of all those emails and all those little meetings and all those follow-ups to make sure that these things get done, and you're just giving it to the user so that they can do their job. That's what you want as a manager, and that's what you want as an end user. You don't want to have to be in a meaningless meeting. You want to be getting your job done. And if having everything in Dynamics 365 can help your organization with that, I think it's going to be an incredible value. So I know we covered a lot today. I hope it was valuable to everybody. But if you want to learn more, reach out, give me a call, shoot me an email, and join your local user group. We have a great CRM UG that I like to go to. It's usually on the east side once a quarter. There's a lot of great people there. Ton of different industries attend. Everybody's using different modules and trying to figure out how they can do more with CRM. So you'd fit right in, I'm sure. And then we have webinars that we put on every so often. Usually we have one a month around Dynamics 365. So please watch your emails to get more information on that from us, or just visit our webpage there. And then learn from your industry peers. Go to community.microsoft.com. They have a great forum. It's very active. You can get help from partners. You can get help from other customers in your industry. You can help other people. It's really great when we see our customers on there helping other people solve their problems. And so I encourage all of you to do all 4 of these things. And with that, I'm signing off. Thank you very much for listening to me for an hour. And hope to hear from you all soon.